Welcome to the Practicing Accountant podcast. My name is Doug, and thank you for joining us. Today's topic is around firing clients to help boost your bottom line. Now, that may seem contradictory, but there is some truth to it. And in this podcast, we're going to be talking about how those worst clients hurt your business and prevent you from earning and experiencing your business the way you should. We hope you enjoy this episode of the Practicing Accountant podcast. At the moment of this recording, we are let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days away from the first day of school.
Oof.
There's some serious concern in our household about this coming school year and having to go back after a lazy, somewhat summer. But that's not what I want to talk about. I have a question for you. So, there were some fires recently in the Front Range of Colorado, and it reminded me that you have some experience in this. I want to hear more about your experience in firefighting. Like what did you do? And I just want to know more about that.
Sure. So, I was a career firefighter for 10 years-ish. Worked for a couple different departments, and we fought wildfires, mostly medical calls, some structure fires, some accidents, a lot of sitting around the station. That's why I left. It kind of felt like prison, because you're there for 24 hours or 48 hours and your time is not your own. You can't just go take a nap. Well, it depends on the department, but the station you're at, sometimes you can, but you're generally sitting around the kitchen table, BSing with the guys and scrolling through Instagram until a call comes. Training.
So what's the shift like? Like when they call you in, I mean, do you stay a certain number of days and then you get a number of days off, or how's it work?
Yeah, so we were 48-96, so we were there for 48 hours, off for 96. Basically go in that morning at 8 o'clock, you do truck checks. So you go through every cabinet and every truck, go through a checklist, make sure everything's there, check tire pressures, check oil. Fire departments have the most well-maintained anything because everything gets gone through.
What else you got to do?
Every 2 days. So yeah, everything's about the trucks. I mean, you're checking the trucks, you're washing the trucks, you're in the trucks all day. I mean, it's all kind of a mechanic, professional organizer, professional detailer, and then sometimes in between that you get to run calls.
What was the most impactful moment you had in your 10 years of giving service that way?
The most impactful thing is the friendships that you create with that. To this day, I still hang out with my buddies that were on my shift, and actually went to the rodeo with them this past weekend and saw the old guys, and just lifelong friends. When you go through some of the terrible things or see some of the terrible things, you create this camaraderie similar to the military, I'm sure.
Yeah, right.
A deeper friendship than you would have otherwise. But as far as calls, that's what most people ask, because the worst calls are the usually the accidents, or the smelly medical calls. Those are always bad.
Mm-hmm. And what skill or attribute or behavior, or what did you learn from it that you use still today most?
That's a good question. Discipline.
Just so you got a clean truck?
Yeah. No, I actually have a terribly dirty truck, but work ethic type of discipline.
Mm-hmm.
I can sit down and just crank through things pretty well. The ability to be bored, pretty good at that, and not have to fidget all the time or sit on my phone constantly. Cool. Yeah, it was a great experience. I'm glad I did it. My dad was a cop, working, starting his CPA firm, and so similarly, I was a fireman before I ventured off into accounting. And I kind of did it simultaneously. I started my company on shift,
Oh, wow.
in the downtime.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd be cranking away. Everyone else is, you know, watching a stupid movie, and I'm doing
Building a business.
building a business.
Yeah. Very
So
cool. Thanks for sharing that. I appreciate
yeah,
that.
thanks for asking.
Yeah. Well, our topic today is firing. So I
Oh,
thought we'd
there you go.
start with a little discussion around fire, different
Nice,
kind of fire, but
nice. Yeah.
firing still. But our topic today is firing your worst clients will boost your bottom line.
Hmm.
This one doesn't matter the size of the firm. I mean, doesn't matter if it's like, like a Whipfly or a Plant Moran. It doesn't matter if it's, a regional firm like a Rubens National-ish, a Reuben Brown, or a local firm like a Rishi May or a Haney, or a small house in a downtown suburb where a one or two partner firm with a bunch of staff, or if it's just one person running their very own business. This conversation happens at all levels
Hmm.
in public accounting. And it is that your worst clients are killing you.
Yep.
Um, and but there's this very, very quick response to that, which is they're paying their bill. No, it's not much, or no, they don't respect me, or whatever. I had a conversation on Tuesday with a contract CFO, and he called me, and he's a client, and said, "Hey, I've got this situation." I called him back. He said, this client is just killing me. Like, constant emails, doesn't respect my boundaries, invites me to meetings on Saturday, reaches out to me on vacation, and none of it's about getting paid. He's getting paid well from them, but the energy that's getting sucked out of my client from his client is just destroying him. And I know that's more of a physical thing now, but from the financial health of the organization, he's not able to take that energy and apply it in better ways into his own business. And so he drafted an email, which we had a discussion. Do I call him? Do I send an email? Do I call him and then send an email? Do I email and then I call? Do I set up a meeting? Like, how do I fire this person? And I'm not one to tell my clients what to do, but he decided that sending an email and then, creating a conversation afterwards was the way to go. And he sent me the email so I could read it and made sure that it was professional and wasn't burning a bridge, and as much as he can. And, said he resigned. And I don't know for sure, but I'm guessing it was probably a $4,000 or $5,000 a month client. That he was given this CFO service to. And so it's nothing to, scoff at. So how would firing that client boost his bottom line? I've already said one thing. He'd have more energy. What else does it do?
Creates space, creates capacity for better, better clients. More profitable, less energy, better fit, better, closer to your niche.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the mental health, that alone, I think can allow you more time to work on the business, which will always help boost your profits. If you can work on the business more, rather than on that client.
Question to ask is, what's the opportunity cost of working with a client like that? Well, it's that energy you could be spending getting better clients or clients that respect you more, which doesn't necessarily add to the bottom line, but makes serving other clients better. But it could be pointed to being more efficient, creating more templates, creating more, things that are automatic that you can create for your clients and add value and create additional billings, different services, different marketing avenues, different ways to create passive income in your business. Like that worst client is sucking the energy out of those opportunities, and that's the cost of it. Now, some of the worst clients are just because either they don't pay on time, they're not paying enough, scope creep, whatever. Again, same reasons, but those are directly tied to the bottom line. If you can get rid of your worst client who's paying rates that you haven't charged in years, but you're too afraid to ask them to increase them, Or it's a client who continues to send those, hey, I got a quick 5-minute question, or hey, could you just take a look at this, or hey, could you just read this, or hey, can you just put this together? And then you don't bill for it, which, shame on everyone for that one, because we all
Yep.
do it. Or if it's someone who isn't paying on time, you become the bank, and 30, 60, 90 days goes without being paid. Those types of clients. And I know anyone listening to this has those types of clients. Why? If you
Yeah.
get to the root of it, like why, and I'll put this to you and I both, but why would you have a bad client?
It's the short-term gain of the revenue right then.
Yeah.
If you when you're talking about boosting the bottom line, you're talking about increasing margins. It's not going to increase margins or your revenue immediately.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna dent that. But it's an investment in the future of your firm, and you have to have that patience and that foresight to know that finding this client will have benefits, but not right now. It will 3-6 months from now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's getting over, and I love that you captured this in time. They're at the moment firing a client that you no longer can earn from does not sound like the brightest thing in the world.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you got to step back and take that bigger picture approach to this and say, well, the longer I keep this client, the more time I'm spending serving someone who either doesn't care or isn't being charged adequately or whatever. And that's going to suck me dry over the years. And I've got to get better clients in here. I've got to learn to say no to these guys or get out. And the thing is like there's always this degree of loyalty that comes in, right? Like, well, they were one of my first clients, or they were referred to me by one of my other clients, or they're my neighbors, or they're my cousin, or I'm going to see them at the Christmas party. And I get it. I do. But you have to think long term. Am I going to be in this business years from now? And how do I want to enjoy this business years from now? And do I want this client years from now? And most likely your answer is no for those worst clients. So how do you first identify your worst clients? And that's rhetorical somewhat, but you and I have created templates in the past around this topic specifically, and I'd offer them right now and say, here it is for free and take it. But they're so simple, there's no reason to give you something that you can create in less than 5 minutes. But it's this simple. It's a spreadsheet, because I think in spreadsheets, I'm a CPA, so I think of rows being the listing of your clients, columns being different ways to value your client, to um, grade them.
Mm-hmm.
And those columns could be as many things as you want, but I wouldn't say anything over 10. You're starting to get a little too detailed. But it could be things like, do they pay on time? Do they value you? Do they operate with integrity? I had another client recently that said, hey, my client is trying to get me to move August income into July because July 4th holiday screwed up their revenues this year. And it's like, that's a client I don't want to be working with. So it could be, integrity. It could be, fee. It could be the number of services. Like a lot of firms, as they grow, they only want to work with clients that are using them for multiple things, not just a single thing. Like they want a deep relationship with their clients, not just a shallow tax return prep or a shallow bookkeeping. They want bookkeeping or tax return and there's, advisory or, whatever else you might offer, is a multiple service. That might be a column. What else? What other columns?
I always like to throw in gut feeling. Like,
Yeah.
how do you feel about them on a scale of 1 to 10 when you see their name pop up in your inbox or on
Totally.
on your iPhone?
I have one client. I'll admit this. I have one client. He's not a bad client, but he's a tough client. Sorry to interrupt this episode of the Practicing Accountant podcast, but wanted to remind you of the benefits of being a member of the Practicing Accountant. You will have access to group coaching and training that we know will help you on your journey to creating a better experience in your business and a better firm for it. You can learn more at www.thepracticingaccountant.com, and we hope you join us. Now, I will get out of your way, and I hope you enjoy the rest of this episode.
Uh-huh.
And he's a CEO of a very, very, very fancy company. And he likes to make me work, which not to say that I don't, but in the coaching relationship, usually I'm trying to get my client to work rather than me having to work too much other than being with them. But anyway, point being, no, I don't even have to look at the calendar. Like I'll have a feeling one morning when I'll
Yeah.
wake up and I'll be like, oh shit, I'm pretty sure I'm meeting with him today. And I'll go and look at my calendar and there he is. And I'm like, oh
Yeah.
my God. Like what? And I'm not going to put him on my worst client, but I have a gut feeling of when I'm working with that guy. And it's crazy. I mean, I love him, but he's just tough.
Yeah. Another one would be
Um,
just the pain in the ass factor. I
mhm.
mean,
Are they get the stuff on time? Are
yeah.
they constantly asking you for more and more scope creep, profitability?
Hmm.
Are they in your niche? Do they meet your ideal client criteria? Are they the size that you want to have? Are they too small, too big? How technical are they? Are they doing things that you're not comfortable doing? International. Um, there's a lot of ways to measure your clients, but I would say come up with between 5 to 10, and then I would just go down your list of clients on the spreadsheet, rows of clients, columns of factors, and maybe give it a pass fail. That's about as simple as you can get.
Sure.
Pass being, yeah, they do pay me on time. Fail, they don't. Pass, they do act with integrity. Fail, they don't. And then score it with the pass fail. If there's more passes in those rows for that client, then they pass. If there's more fails, then they fail. And then when you get that out, the worst ones, the ones that have F's across the board, that's a no-brainer,
Yeah.
right? That's a why in the world am I working with someone who causes me so much stress and concern and hardship? And maybe it's 50-50. And in that case, that's one that you want to maybe keep, but also kind of put on the watch list. But the goal it should be passes across the row. Like it's your business. Like you should be working with people that value you and you appreciate and they appreciate you and they pay you what you're worth and you love serving them. I mean, why else are we doing this? And that's the piece I really got to get across is like, it's your business. You get to choose who you work with. The people pleaser isn't running the boat. And saying yes to shitty opportunities is going to put you in an early grave or at least out of business because you can't do it. It's burnout. It's disengagement. I don't enjoy what I'm doing anymore. I wish I was doing something else, complaining all the time, like just going through stress and pressure and not sleeping nights and being on call on the weekend. Like that is not why we're in this business.
Hmm. Yeah.
So once you have that easy spreadsheet, rows and columns of clients and factors, and you've identified which ones are failing, now you have to come up with a plan to fire them. Like my client on Tuesday, it was somewhat of an emotional decision because he was right in the midst of it. But his solution was, I'm going to pull the plug right now, and I'm going to pull the plug in 30 days. And I may have talked him into 60 just to kind of make sure he doesn't burn a bridge there. But
Sure.
but the point being is like it's now. Now's the time. And I realize too, for those tax preparers out there that we're coming up on a couple of deadlines here this summer and fall, that, we probably still have some work to do for these worst clients. Well, once we get that work done, come October 16th, it's time. Like if you wait till after Thanksgiving,
Too
then
late.
that short-term mentality that you described kicks in and says, well, I don't have any other work to do. I might as well do the worst work. Might as well keep them another year. I haven't told them yet. It's too late to tell them.
Yeah.
That's not. But to mitigate that risk of waiting too long, you should have the list ready. And by the time that you've sent the return and hopefully gotten paid concurrently, you're firing them. And the plan can look a million different ways, but it could be the conversation. Like, hey, I think it's time for us to go our separate ways, and I've appreciated working with you. Well, why are you getting rid of me? You know what? I'm just, if this is work I don't want to do anymore. Right.
Mhm.
And you
Yeah.
can just say it blatantly, or you can say you need more than me because you need more of my time. Scope keeps increasing and I don't have availability to do all the work. I don't like answering phone calls on the weekend. You need someone who does. You don't like paying. You need someone who doesn't like getting paid. I mean, you can be blunt and honest with it. I'm not going to encourage this or advise this. You can come up with a story, which sounds like, I'm working on getting different types of clients in here and then getting rid of some of the work I don't want to do anymore or don't like to do anymore or don't need to do anymore. And I'm moving on. So it could be, again, email, phone call, could be, I wouldn't text.
Yeah.
It could be a meeting, like whatever you're comfortable with. But the point is, it has to happen. This is one of those things that's uncomfortable, and I get it, but you have to look at the reasoning why, because I need to have a better experience in my business. In order to do that, I may have to do something that's uncomfortable, like having a difficult conversation to get rid of a client I've had for a while. And that's okay. There will be other clients. They're not going to go right to Yelp and call you a son of a bitch and say to their friends you should never use them. If you do this in the right way, and the right way is just professionally. And for those that are worried about, cutting it off too soon, there are other ways. You can create a network of folks that your ex-client can reach out to.
Yeah.
Like I've got a list of 5 names here of folks that could probably help you, and you should reach out to them. Or, go even further than that. Say, I've reached out to an individual who loved your work, and I've already set up a call, and I can transfer the data and information very easily, and here you go. So you can make this as soft of a landing for them as you'd like. But at the end of the day, the point is we got to get rid of them because your bottom line depends on it, as well as your own mental and physical health.
You bet. And you're also giving your competitors a crappy client, maybe.
Maybe. Right. And then there's always like, well, they'll manage them better. But I had another client that, they're really bad at holding expectations and accountability, or creating expectations and holding accountability. And so when a new client would come in, they wouldn't have real clear expectations on how they should work together. So the client just would run all over them, and they'd get them information when they wanted to. They would respond when they wanted to. They'd reach out when they wanted to. They would, wait until the last minute or not pay on time, because my client wasn't that great at setting expectations. And I've also got clients that are great at setting expectations, but horrible at holding accountability. So they say, I need everything in by the 15th. Well, the 15th comes, they don't have everything. What do? Nothing.
Right.
And then when it finally comes in, on the 14th before the deadline, they're like, they do it. And so the client's like, well, this is how it works around here. That's what I'm going to keep doing. But if you had a client and said, I needed it in by the 15th or it doesn't get done, and they gave it to you on the 16th and it doesn't get done, they learn real quick. But that's one of the tricks here is, if any of these worst clients, let me back up for a second. If any of these worst clients, if there's one of those columns that makes them a worse client, if it's something that you believe fully that you can address and renegotiate terms with your client and reset expectations with your client, there's a chance your worst client could become at least better.
Sure.
And over time, maybe even better than better. But you have to look at it from a perspective of what you're comfortable doing. And if you feel like you've set expectations and held accountability and they're still a worse client, then they should go. There's a great TED talk out there by a referee, a soccer referee. We call it football. And this TED talk is about making people happy. And since he's a soccer referee, he's used to being yelled at, right? Like that's like half of his job is getting yelled at and cursed at and have things thrown at him. So he said, the way he looks at it in order to be a good referee is, anytime there's a call and the crowd is booing and going nuts and yelling at him for, calling offsides or yellow card or whatever it is he does out there. He says he has to look at it through 2 lenses. Is this me or is this them?
Mm.
And, he looks at it, somewhat neutrally. And he says, okay, did I blow this call? Was I not in the right position to make the call? Did I see something that didn't happen? Is this me? And if he says, yes, it's me, well, then he needs to learn to be better. But if he looks at it and says, no, it's not me, then he has to look at the crowd. And, they just want their team to win. They've got money riding on it. like that's on them. And I shouldn't let that affect me, what's going on with them. And I made a good call and they just can't handle that. But he looks at it neutrally in each instance, and then he kind of falls on one or theirs, sometimes both. But it's the same thing with a client relationship. Like, scope creep continues to happen on a job. Whose fault is that? Well, there's a good chance that that's me.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good chance that it's me not setting the boundaries or not saying, hey, this is out of our engagement letter. This is something in addition. I need to charge for this. Because if you're not doing that, then it is on you, because the client's just going to keep throwing you stuff under the hopeful assumption that the engagement letter covers this.
Or they don't even know.
Right.
They just assume.
They just assume. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're not doing it, with malice,
Right.
or on purpose. They're just doing it because they have assumed.
Right.
But if you're not saying anything, that's on you. And if they're doing it even after you've had a conversation with them, like, hey, listen, I can't do this extra work. Oh, you can do it. No, I can't. That's on them. and that's where you've got to draw that line. And that's those worst clients are those ones that are going to continue to push at your boundaries until you fold and not respect them. So dial this back. I interrupted you a couple minutes, seconds ago or whatever.
Yeah, no, it's still kind of in line here. Is our recent podcast, we talked about saying no will help profitability as well. And that the inability to say no kind of leads to this position that you're in right now where you have to fire clients. If you're saying yes to all the scope creep and the new projects and things that are driving you crazy about these clients, then to your point, it's probably your fault. And so I think it's a great idea to try to address it as a first step before firing. If they don't comply after addressing it, then you can confirm that they need to go.
Yeah. Well, this is a bit of a tangent to the conversation, but this points out why engagement letters are so important. Mm-hmm. And to say that this is what's included, and the minute or the second that a client asks you to do something outside the scope of that engagement letter, that's your opportunity right there. And I used to love this because I learned the hard way. Like in my own efforts, clients would ask me to do things. I'd do them. I'd bill them. And then I'd get the phone call like, what the hell is this bill for? And this is way more than I thought it was. And I'm like, well, you asked us to do more. Like, well, damn it, I don't want to pay it. And then I would like split it with them, or how about I eat 50 of it and you just pay half of it? And they'd be like, okay, fine. And I hated that because I shouldn't have had to have eaten, half the bill. But the reason why I ate half the bill is because of me. Like the minute a client asks me to do something outside of the engagement, I capture that moment and I say, okay, I would love to do this. This is in addition or more than what we agreed to do. So I'm going to have to bill you for it. And is that okay? And the client's like, well, you sure it's not part of, no, it's not. It's clearly not.
You know why accountants don't do that is because they're afraid that they're going to lose that revenue.
Probably.
That they're afraid that client, oh, there's a price to this, never mind.
Yeah, right. Totally. Like they're like, oh, well, I don't do it. No.
Then you end up eating it anyway. So you did work and like, what was the point of that?
But that moment is what needs to be captured to prevent that scope creep, which could create a worse client. So if that's one of the factors in why it's a worse client, you want to step back and say, is this on me? And like if you go down the list of your clients and every single one of your clients fails in the scope creep column, got some work to do. Yeah. And if it's profit margin, well, you probably still have some work to do. But if some of these other things like integrity and technical and niche and gut feel, and if you've got clients in there that's not you don't own that's something they own. Those are ones that go in the worst client classification, and those are ones you should plan to fire. So now I believe at some point. Go ahead.
Sorry, this exercise will help you identify bad clients, but it might also help you identify places in your business where you just suck.
Yeah, right.
To your point, if your margins suck on most clients, maybe you have a pricing issue or a pricing issue. Mm-hmm. You go down that list, and if every client picks that column, that means it's probably you and not them.
Totally. And total agreement. So, from this conversation, I think our intention of this is to create a better experience in your firm, not only from an enjoyment and engagement and no burnout, but also to help the bottom line of the business by enabling you to work on bigger, better, more valuable, more profitable, more liked client experiences. And the steps are simple. Go through this process of rating your clients and pass, fail. I've seen clients use A, B, C, D, and it just gets complicated when you start grading. And then all of a sudden it's A plus, A minus, and B plus. And it just goes on forever. But I think a simple pass, fail is a great way to look at it.
Sure.
And then creating some intentions of getting rid of the worst ones so you can make room for the ones you're going to be getting, which I'm sure we'll be talking about, if we haven't already, a number of times in these podcasts around getting ideal clients.
Awesome, man. Thanks.
Yeah. Cheers.
See ya.
Thank you for watching this episode of the Practicing Accountant Podcast. We hope you enjoyed it. We hope you are going to go and take a look at your clients and sort them in those rows and columns and identify the factors that mean the most to you and your experience in your business. It is your business. You deserve to enjoy it. And this exercise will help you, even if it's just a little bit, so that you're working more with the folks that appreciate you and that fit your business. You can learn more about us at www.thepracticingaccountants.com. And we hope you join us again for another episode and share and like this episode with those you know. Thank you very much for watching.